Good evening, race fans. We are coming to you live from the JSRA, but virtually we are in Kyalami of South Africa. We will be having a brief practice session for the drivers to just get into the server, and then we will be moving right into our 15-minute qualifying session, followed by our 45-minute race. I am joined here by my ever inquisitive co-host, Mr. Andrew Spence. Andrew?
Good afternoon, Chad. I just finished. I was looking for some water to wash down those horrible donuts President brought and gave me, but I'm here. I made it. I'm alive, and I'm here to witness tonight's brilliant action.
Man never even give you a little water to wash it down?
No,
Man expect you
bro,
to choke.
I know you saw that donut. I know you saw it.
For the fans, we are making fun. He takes very good care of us. Please don't take us seriously. So as we are awaiting the start of the session, we are expecting a competitive one. We have several drivers posting times that are close to one another. Some rookies on the field as well, namely one Mark Moody. This is his first race with the JSRA and his first actual, we'll call it semi-official event as a sim racer. So interesting to see how the rookie performs as we await the start of, as qualifying has just started, my apologies.
Yes, and earlier he was telling me that he was a bit nervous, hands shaking, voice shaking. So I told him, "You have every." No, I didn't.
No, I mean he has.
From what I've seen, he's a pretty consistent driver, like the other karters in the race.
Right, so that is good to mention that he's also one from a karting background, like the other persons, like some of our other contestants. Sorry. So interesting to see if that karting background shows its colors here this evening. We do expect whole time to be close to mid 147s, as that is the pace shown by some of the drivers here this evening. Not all drivers have put up times representative of that, but we will see as they filter through what those times will look like. Most drivers appear to be on outlaps right now, going around to start their flyers. Leading the pack seems to be Mark Moody, followed by Davil Park. So Mark will be the first one to attempt a flying lap. Interesting to see where he filters in. Looking for him maybe in the low 149s, early high 148s, so that should put him middle of pack. But we will see, as in theory is one thing, but out on circuit we will see what the end result is. So as Moody is going through the end of Sector 2, starting Sector 3, we will see what the rookie is looking like here this evening. Eaton has now started his flying lap. We will be looking for taking bets on the top three here, Andrew. Who do you have in your top threes? or expected top 3? I'll give you mine, seeing as I'm the one asking.
Yeah, you go
I
first.
expect Kurt Moss. Okay, I'm gonna give you an order. I expect pole from Kurt Moss. Second place Jaden Harrison and Mark Anthony Heath to take third. Your top 3.
I'm going to say. I'm going to say Jaden, Eaton, and then Moss.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that.
We will see in a little bit how that plays out, you know. Let's see what the comment. Well, so far it's looking to be in my favor with the first 2 flyers coming in. Kurt Moss leads Jaden Harrison by 3
No,
tenths.
the flyers don't matter, right? You know that the flyers don't matter.
Well, we will see as the qualifying session continues. We are in 10th position. Well, we are 10 minutes to go in this qualifying session. As Eaton is going through his flyer, we will see where he filters in.
To be fair, Eaton, I remember the last race when Eaton sat back. And I don't even remember how far back he was, and then he ended up what, second?
Yep.
So if Jaden and Moss have a battle right throughout this race, Eaton can just chill. He can chill.
Well, we will see as we're getting ahead of ourselves here, as we're still in the qualifying session. Let's see where everybody lands before we make such bold predictions. Okay, so it appears that lap was not a flyer for Mark. He is now on his flyer. We will see where that filters out. So far, flyers completed by Kurt Moss, Jaden Harrison, Neville Park, and Kimani Eastman. Eastman 2 seconds off the pace, doing the 1:51.4s.
To be honest, I believe whoever has the best start in this race is probably likely to maintain it if they remain consistent, because there are not many places here to pass, I would say, based on the nature of the car and how long it takes to get up to speed and stuff like that. It's not.
It is a little debatable, right? Because I would think start finish is a good place to overtake, in that it all depends on your exit from that final corner. Depending
Well,
on the
that's
drive you get out of that
that's
corner,
very true.
it could very well lend itself to setting up a move in turn 1.
And the inside
Well,
of turn
turn
1
two.
it's very wide. Well, turn 2, yes, it's
Yeah.
extremely
And-
wide. A lot can be.
Exactly.
A lot can happen in that
And
space.
depending on the drive you get out of turn 4, turn 5 could also be another position. Eaton getting very drifty there out of the second to last corner. Imagine this lap is going to be a little bit off the pace, but fret not, he has time to go for a few more flyers here. So we expect to see the drivers do multiple laps, as the tire life does not tend to go off very early. I think what has happened is Mark has invalidated both of those laps, which is why a lap time does not currently show up for him. So having run wide at 1 or 2 corners, you will find that, well, any corner you run wide at will result in a cut that causes the lap to be invalidated. And this is our first race using or testing the official real penalty, the updated version of real penalty. So you will find that it's more rigid in terms of the restraints that will offer. I imagine track conditions aren't very optimum right now,
Yes,
as the
seems to be.
drivers are struggling a little bit. Jaden Harrison in the 1:48.3s, that lap looking quite quick around here at the moment. We will see Kurt Moss answers immediately.
Wow.
So we will be looking at what these drivers are doing. But Jaden and Kurt seem to be trading fastest laps at the moment, making my prediction look very good.
But no. Fuck. Still banking on him. Hopefully though, in this race he learned from Paul Ricard, because he told me he was doing very well, very consistent on that track. Probably the best performance out of everyone. And then on race day, he said his focus changed on trying to catch Jaden. So hopefully that taught him something, focusing, taught him how to focus on his own race.
Yeah, so there are very many things that can throw you off as a driver, so you don't want to have too many distractions. It's all about narrowing your focus to each individual corner. Worrying about entry, exit, break points, as opposed to what's going on around you. If you are locked in a battle, there is more to think about, but definitely, it's all about narrowing your field of focus. As it stands right now, if qualifying ended right this minute, I would be dead accurate. And the rookie seems to be slotting into fourth place there, Mark Moody. He is 2 seconds off the pace of the leaders, who are less than a tenth apart. They're still trading laps, are Jaden and Moss.
Wow.
And Moss seems very intent on making my prediction accurate this evening. Based on going back to our earlier argument about overtaking spots, quite a narrow circuit, Kyalami, so it does tend to be difficult in very many of the sectors to get to find a point where you could make a move.
Especially with these fun braking points.
There are a few of those actually where you are. I was talking to one of the drivers just now, I won't name him, and when I asked him what's his braking point for a corner, his response to me was his heart. That tells you all you need to know about what some of these corners are looking like. But it will prove to have some challenges in terms of overtaking. We will see how the drivers look in due course. Mark Anthony Eaton, I apologize, is now within a second of the two leaders, but still making my prediction look very good. That's all I'm saying. But
what's your prediction for qualifying or for the race?
for qualifying,
Oh,
when we get to race, we'll talk about our predictions at that point in time.
okay.
But for qualifying, we are now seeing what we expect. What we expect to be the pace overall. Eaton having a bit of a spin there in sector 1. Drivers seem to be struggling a bit. Track conditions are looking optimum here this evening, so we expected the pole time to be around the mid 147s. Moss has delivered close to that. We could see Jaden match that time. No other driver for the duration of this week has been in the 147s, so we will see how we're looking with maybe 2 flyers left in this qualifying session, as we're at 1:40. So all the drivers currently on laps will have the lap that they're on plus 1 more.
Chad, what was the track condition for practice?
The track what, sorry?
Conditions.
Close to optimum or optimum. Why do you
Because
ask?
I noticed Ethan seems to be more tail happy than usual.
So what I have noticed some of the drivers doing is playing with their brake biases. So we had mentioned yesterday in practice, and we will mention again now, very limited setups on these cars. You can change but a handful of settings, which are your tire pressures, traction control, brake bias, and that's it really, and fuel load. But that's about it. So what I have noticed some of the drivers have been doing is from corner to corner, they adjust their brake biases and the amount of traction control being offered by the car. And this gives you two advantages. One, getting on power. You tend to be able to get on power a little bit quicker when traction control is lower, as it is monitoring your input a lot less. With the brake bias, the more to the rear makes the tail want to step a little bit. More to the front gives the car a little more stability on the braking. And as we are now at the checkered flag, the top two, as they stand, are Jaden Harrison. Well, Kurt Moss leads Jaden Harrison, followed by Mark Anthony Eaton. And that makes my prediction bang on.
So much so you deserve one of these donuts. Suicide donuts.
Okay, so as we are wrapping up qualifying here, the only driver still on the lap is Kimani Eastman, who is 3 seconds off the leaders. And he looks to be coming through Sector 2, the end of Sector 2, heading towards Sector 3. We will see where he filters in.
Not sure what the case is with Davil Park, because the first two races he did pretty well, and for like the latter he's been quite a bit behind. I'm not sure what the reason for that is. I was expecting him to be more within the top. Well, he's in the top 5 if you want to say top 5, but I expected him to be doing a lot better than.
So you will find that drivers prefer certain kinds of tracks. So they might be great around one track, not so great around another. And this is how you tell the really good drivers, as Eastman has a moment there coming out of the second to last corner, and that will be the end of qualifying. So we have all drivers back in the pits now as Eastman goes back to the pits. But right, so as I was saying, you'll find that drivers tend to favor tracks, some tracks more than others, and we found that a lot of the drivers this week have been less than happy with Kyalami. A very difficult track to drive. It is a very technical circuit with lots of heavy braking zones and lots of combination corners. Combination corners can be any driver's worst enemy, in that you miss one corner and there goes that entire section of track.
The entire lap.
More or less.
Yes.
So here we are at the end of qualifying. Moss from Harrison from Eaton. The rookie Moody putting himself in 4th position, only 4/10 off. I mean, Eaton is still a relative rookie as well, but having 6 months of experience on Moody to be within 4/10 of Mark is no small feat. So props to Moody on his first drive to be looking racy. Park and Eastman a little bit off the pace here, so we are looking at 3 separate potential battles here. Moss and Harrison, a second clear of Eaton and Moody, who are 2 seconds clear of Park and Eastman.
With the high possibility of crashes that we've seen thus far, do you think within the 45 minutes we'll see anybody getting lapped? Do you think? You think the possibility is there for
The
that?
possibility is definitely there. It's a minute 47 around the track, and a spin will cost you 20 seconds. 3 of those, and being slower than the driver ahead, and over 45 minutes, it is very possible. We expect to get anywhere between 23 and 25 laps of racing today. So that will be the zone we're looking to watch for. By lap 23, you'll start to see time winding down. Again, for all the fans who maybe are first time listeners, pit window, there is a mandatory pit stop for all drivers. The pit window opens at minute 10 and will close 1 minute before the race ends. That pit stop does not necessarily require you to take fuel, but you do have to make a tire change. What that will mean is you will probably find drivers fueling for the first stint, as fueling is quicker than tire changes, and then taking fuel to get to the end of the race during that pit stop. And as we had mentioned, with limited overtaking possibilities, the start is very important, track position is very important, and maybe the pit stop strategies might play a factor. Tire delta not too bad.
I'm very interested to see corner 2
Uh-huh.
at the beginning of this race, because there you could take that corner 100 different ways to meet that apex.
Certainly,
Yes.
but very few ways are quicker, so
Exactly. But in the context of track position, however,
well, let us see as we are getting ready to go racing here, folks. So we are coming to the lights and we will get going momentarily as we are at 6 lights and they're out and the drivers are off. Eastman has a drive-through for jumping the start. So that is already one driver finding a penalty out of this new real penalty system. Moss got away cleanly as Jaden Harrison is applying that pressure. Gets ahead in turn 1. They're still battling it out as they go into turn 3. I'm sorry, that was turn 2. Moss retakes the lead as they are going through turn 4 now. And he will be holding station in the lead. An interesting battle there in the first few corners. All drivers maintaining stations, it seems. A little tail swipe there from Mark Moody, who is right there with the top 3. So the drivers getting away very cleanly here this afternoon. We are riding along as the drivers are going through that one. Mark Moody looking a little racy with Mark Anthony Eaton here as the two looked a little close together. And Jaden Harrison still looking to put that pressure on Moss as they come to the end of lap 1 here. These two drivers spent all of qualifying trading fastest laps, so we will see what they're doing out here on circuit. Looking quite close there is Jaden Harrison. Is he going to have a look into turn 2? It does not seem like he is close enough. So what we will be watching for this afternoon, as we were making mention of previously, Andrew, is that the real penalty system now gives us a lot more accurate picture of what the drivers are going through. As you can see there, the cut warnings are now listed. 5 cut warnings equals a drive-through penalty, as Kimani Eastman serves his drive-through penalty for jumping the start. It makes the racing a little bit more structured, a little bit more rigid. Gives the drivers a little bit more to think about instead of just chucking the car in and hoping for the best. They have to be mindful of the number of cuts that they're doing.
It must seem to have added consistent 10th since the last lap. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case for following lap as Jade is still pressing, but Moss seems to be extending that lead, that gap.
Well, we will watch along as we proceed through the race. We do know these two drivers are capable of punching in these times. We will see what their lap times are looking like as they're coming to the end of lap 2. Not sure what fuel loads they are running. As I said, it would be the quickest strategy to, as they're coming through a tenth apart, as you so rightly mentioned, Moss from Harrison. But I imagine they would have fueled for the individual stint as opposed to fueling for the entire race, as that much fuel would certainly create a bit of lag in the car. As Eaton is having a moment behind getting it back on track, he seemed to have had a bit of oversteer out of that corner there. Caught it, so only losing a position to Mark Moody. But we'll just have to get his head down and continue racing here. Will Mark Anthony Eaton. That incident, very unlike him, a normally very consistent driver. Is Mark Anthony Eaton. Not sure what caused that moment there, but he did look to be struggling all through qualifying, having a few incidents. Not sure if maybe the pace difference between himself and the top two might have triggered him to be overdriving a little bit in trying to bridge that gap.
As I mentioned earlier with the Paul Ricard incident, and what I said he was saying about his approach during the race, well, during practice versus during the race, and how his focus left his concentration, basically. So, I don't know. I'm not sure what caused that. It's a bit disappointing to see based on all the effort he's put in so far, but it's racing.
Yeah, and there's still 39 minutes of racing to go, so there's time for him to make amends for that mistake. At current, it looks like he is in a fight with Mark Moody for third. The rookie holding station very well there so far, keeping his nerves about him, having been his first event. But that fight for third position is still very much on between these two, separated by just about a second at the moment, as the front two in Harrison and Moss have checked out. But these two look like they're going to start battling very soon, as the lap before they were less than a tenth apart, doing almost identical lap times. 48-1 did both drivers. So they are very much on pace, and Jade might be looking to get a little racy here with Moss.
0.6 to a 0.3.
Having maybe found his rhythm here, looking to push the pace, trying to get either maybe force Kurt into a mistake or just be present long enough to cause the error. So as we come out of the final corner, it was 2 tenths, it's extended to 3, but the exits look, Jade might have the run here. 2 tenths quicker than Moss was Jaden over that lap. Will he be looking to take a move into turn 2? No, not close enough. Moody doing his fastest lap of the race so far. Ooh, Moss running wide there, opening the door for Jaden Harrison, who takes the opportunity. And Jaden is gone. Well, he is 8 tenths ahead. Moss will be livid with himself for that error. Let's see if he can make amends for it. But was that a moment of pressure? Or was it just an unforced error?
Well, based on our experience driving this truck, more so myself than you, but you do realize we did realize that this truck is very unforgiving in terms of your braking points and also your entries. If you make a slight mistake, you're off.
Eaton finding his pace there as he dives to the inside of Moody with the switchback. These two having quite the battle here.
Reminiscent of the karting days.
Eaton right up in the slipstream of Moody, and they will be. Ooh. There is racing on here, folks, as these two are going through sector 3. As we're coming to the end of this lap, we will be looking if another move is on here by the time we get to turn 2. Let's see if Eaton has gotten the drive. Maybe putting a little bit of pressure on the rookie to see if the rookie will crack. I seem to have been gauging this battle a little incorrectly here, as Eaton did get the move done before we started this lap. My apologies. That switcheroo was maybe the veteran showing the rookie how it's done. So let's see if Moody can keep with Eaton as we proceed here through this lap. And maybe as the pit window should be opening now in 5 minutes. So pit window in 5 minutes will tell us what the drivers are thinking in terms of their strategies. Do you go early and just run it to the end of the race, or do you wait and maybe take it right at the end, as you can go until minute 44? And like I made mention, you can certainly run these tiles for the duration of the race. They will not go off. The delta is not that different from lap 1 to lap 20. So it is possible that the driver could run. The only thing to consider there is whether or not you would want to have that much fuel on board at any particular point in time. Not sure why Davil Park is in the pits there, as he was ahead of Eastman and the pit window is not yet open, so not sure why he would have gone in. Maybe that's the end of his race for the evening, and
He would serve a penalty for pitting outside of the window.
not entirely sure, but that should be the case, as the pit window would not have been open. And Moss and Harrison are back at it. The race is on for the lead. Moss probably looking to make amends for the previous mistake, so we will see what he can do, as probably in the next 2 corners will be an opportunity for him to make a move. Giving Jaden an eyeful in his rearview mirror there is Kurt Moss, because he was right on his rear wing not moments ago. So let's see as we ride along with Steven and his drone cam. Great camera work from El Capitan. As we are coming to the end of lap 6 here, Harrison with a 1:48.2, Moss 5/10 off that pace, having lost some time there in sector 3, did Kurt Moss. He was looking racy for sector 2, but not sure if he decided to back off a bit or if he has just taken if there was a bit of an error there from him. So the rookie Mark Moody seems to have fallen away from the front three, well, from Eaton by about 4 seconds, and maybe in trying to overdrive to keep that gap, has picked up a few track cutting warnings. So one more cut and he will have a penalty to serve. We will see if he can keep it within the lines of the track for the rest of the race. I see Nick Penley in the chat, sorry, commenting, maybe defending El Presidente from Andrew. Nick saying, boy, some bulla should I get another day.
Nick, these donuts could be used as a pit stop strategy for tire changes. That's how tough they are. Okay, just letting you.
So, in all fairness to the donuts, them could have been bulla here, Nick. So, Andra, at this stage of the race, it seems the drivers have kind of resigned to their stations, maybe reassessing for a new plan of attack. Moody has fallen 5 seconds off of Eaton. Moss is a second and a half off of Jaden. And Jaden proving very consistent here today, as we have mentioned in the past. A driver that had that to work on, and thanks to some intense sessions with the JSRA, you know, seems to have been making great strides in that department. And as he continues to develop as a sim racer, it will be interesting to see where he could take this, because as you can see based on the times listed, he is very close to pro amateur times, as opposed to most of the other drivers somewhere between amateur and pro amateur. So good for him in terms of his pace and what he has proven capable of doing. So we have seen, Andrew, that some of the drivers have shied away from this race this week, as numbers, you know, normally we could get somewhere in the region of maybe 10 drivers. Today we have 6, and it has dwindled to 5 as Park has retired. But I think Kyalami may have intimidated some people. Having done a session out on track itself, will give the fans a feeling of what the track is like.
Well, with my immaculate time, 1:54, you know, I was giving him a chance. Yeah, I can't come and embarrass anybody, but the track, I'm slow, but I love the track. As for some of the drivers, and the consensus is that they hate it. They absolutely hate it. I'm not sure if it's because of the how narrow it is, or the corners, or as you mentioned earlier, the how unforgiving it is in terms of if you make the first apex in one corner and you miss the second, you know, it throws off everything entirely. So I like the challenge, as slow as I am, but I love the challenge. I don't stray from the challenge. The other drivers, I'm not sure why they wouldn't necessarily just attempt. For example, like Park, okay, did the laps, entered the race, and said, you know what? Yeah, time to hang it. But we have a lot of members in here who.
Sorry to cut you for a minute there, Andrew, but we notice now a few of the drivers are taking their pit stops quite early. Maybe for the best that maybe they have fuel just enough to get them to the pit window and then will fuel to the end of the race. So we have both Eaton and Moody taking early pit stops. I believe Eastman has also pitted. We will confirm. But yeah, so the 3 and 4 taking early pit stops. We will see how far Moss and Harrison go into the race. But yes, Andrew, going back to the point we were making. So, sorry, just to confirm, Eastman has not pit. He is just, I think he served a drive-through, and
again,
no, just the one.
Same
So
one,
the
okay.
drive-through is why he is so far back from the rest of the group. Harrison has now taken his pit stop as well, so I guess maybe we will see everybody going early on these pit stops. Or I guess this is about halfway through the race, so...
So question, when they jump the start and he's thrown into the pits, he serves a penalty there before he's allowed to come out to serve another drive-through penalty, is that it?
No. So he jumped the start on track, he finished the first lap with the group,
Oh,
and then has to serve
Okay.
a drive-through.
okay, I thought he was teleported
No,
back into
no.
Okay.
So that leaves Eastman and Moss as the only two drivers yet to pit. But sorry, Andrew, we interrupted your explanation as to how you feel about the track.
Yeah, I was saying I really enjoyed it. When I initially came onto the track with this car, I was the very first corner, I was into the wall. Second, into the dirt. Third, back into the wall. It was a struggle for me. As I saw you're an absolute masterclass, you know,
Boy,
and then
I-
proceeded to come on the commentary and decimate
shame you.
my, you know, my.
Yeah, you know, nothing but a 149.3 on offer
Ooh.
from me.
Ooh.
Nowhere near most of the drivers competing here this evening. But yeah, no. So my thing is, Moody has found himself with his final cut, and will now have to serve a drive-through. The first half of the race looked quite promising for the rookie, but I guess you know, it is a learning process. This was his first drive out. He's gonna improve. He will get better. His times aren't bad, so you know, it's just here we are. We will see how he develops as time progresses. But right, what I found with the track is you in terms of it being unforgiving, you find that the curbs in particular will give you some grief if not used correctly. So, for example, you see Harrison there using the inside curve out of the final corner, but had he done that on the curb for turn 2 or turn 3, might be a different outcome as those curbs are raised. So your use of the curbs has to be very sparing. As you notice, he does not touch the curb at all coming out of turn 2. But there are just features of this track that make it very technical and very unforgiving.
I found that you have to either have a very late apex on the curb or an extremely early entrance on the curb for it to not throw off the car too much. So as you can see, there's a certain elevation the curb goes up in terms of its shape. So you have to kind of ride it when it's, how to explain it? When elevation is or the gradient
Uniform.
is yeah, it's a gradual
Right.
rise
So,
or fall.
so you are correct in that 9 times out of 10, these corners are late apex corners. So you have to kind of, monitor how you are taking these apexes in order to get through the lap, both quickly and safely. We see another one of our potential rookies, Chris Lynch, in the chat. Possible to see him out on track in short order. We will see as he continues to develop his skills. The JSRA trying to build a whole league of racers so that we can take over competitions in the future. So anywhere we recognize talent, we try our best to help you to take it to the next level in the hopes of building our team and our brand.
I must say, Chad, as we continue to do this, and the JSRA continues to have these races, as they continue to have these races, the more talent reaches out. Because Moody, watching him practice earlier on as a beginner, you see the potential, as I saw with Jaden earlier, and as you see with Marky. I probably within the next year, we might have a proper team.
I do believe so, and these drivers have all proven that over one lap they can compete with some of the best. We've done competitions against other Caribbean islands, we've done competitions against South American countries, and time again we've proven that we do have the talent to match up to these people and these other countries. We've had Mark Eaton win races in the CSRO in their Porsche Cup, which you're racing against drivers that, one, have years of experience on him, and two, race in more senior classes. Like another competitor we have in this group, Khalil Rickford from Guyana, is involved in leagues such as the PSGL, and on occasion we've seen Jaden do battle with Khalil and Mark do battle with Khalil, and that's an experienced driver who has been at this for years. So we do have the talent for sure, and it will be great to see this talent continue to develop to maybe have representatives on the international stage of sim racing, as sim racing is a growing sport and can become a full-time career. Moss finally taking his pit stop, which would make him the last pit stop to happen, or the last scheduled pit stop, I should say, to happen.
What was the average time for the pit stop?
Somewhere in the realm of 29, maybe. Well, it could be 35 seconds, as Harrison, I don't think, would have lost that much time to Kurt in the pit stop. No mistakes for Jaden Harrison since his pit stop, so we will see as he is rounding the final corner. Running a little wide there is Jaden Harrison, but gets it back on track, gets the power down, and will take back the lead from Kurt Moss. Comfortably, it would seem. So it seems Harrison might have made a mistake that we were not aware of, as he is actually confirmed to be 14 seconds behind Kurt. Not sure when that happened, but Moss maybe. There was a drive-through for Kurt was speeding in the pit, and so he is now serving that drive-through. So I guess these drivers not only trading times but trading mistakes too, as we see Jaden Harris. Well, that should be Eastman going by, and Harrison now comes through the final corner to take, and is now at turn 2, sorry, as Moss re-emerges, and he might lose position to Eaton here, as Eaton is now coming down start-finish straight. The two drivers, Eaton should have the speed advantage coming down start-finish here, but Moss stays ahead for now. We will see if Eaton can apply some pressure to Moss here, as the two drivers separated by just over a second.
That I'm sure Moss is double frustrated with his performance for this race, because early on when he made that mistake and Jaden gained position on him, only to make a mistake going too fast into the pit, to then give back Jaden the place once again.
Yeah, seasoned driver is Kurt Moss. These aren't mistakes you expect to see from him.
Not all.
Could be that it does take some getting used to for the new penalty system. So, Andrew, your prediction of a driver being lapped might come through, as Eastman is 1 minute and 42 seconds behind Jaden Harrison. And we know Jaden Harrison is about 2 seconds quicker than Kimani on one lap pace. With 12 minutes to go, we could see those two drivers find each other on circuit before the end of the race. This now seems to be status quo in terms of the running order. I don't think we will see much shake-up here unless a huge mistake takes place or some other event. Moss has checked out 4 seconds from Eaton. Eaton leads Moody by 22 seconds. And Jaden Harrison has almost 19 seconds to Kurt. So I think this could be the ending order of this race, as Harrison should now be seeing Eastman up the road and could be lapping him before the end of this lap, as they are now on the same straight. Yeah, there is one of your predictions coming to fruition, in that I think that driver will be lapped.
As it relates to the speed limit for pit entry, where exactly do these drivers have to slow down in order to meet the requirement? And also, is there a button engagement for them? Because I noticed it's been a problem for quite a few of them.
So again, this is the first iteration of real penalty being used in a JSRA race. It is a system that has long been overdue and is required to govern some aspects of the race efficiently, giving the stewards a little less work, and proves to be useful in terms of monitoring track cuts, etc., etc. That being said, what the drivers have probably not been used to up to this point is having to meet the speed limit by pit entry. And pit entry is just after the second to last corner. As you see Harrison going by the pit lane entry there, you have to be down to 80 kilometers per hour before you turn into the pit lane. That being said, most of the drivers have not yet become accustomed to it. You may have previously worked out your braking point just to get into the pits, and the pit will slow you down, but now you do have to get to a speed and engage pit limiter in order to make your pit stop. Moss having to pit again for another drive-through penalty. I assume that one is for track cutting, which elevates Eaton to second position, and Moss will be kicking himself for his race here this afternoon. All of these errors do not seem to have been forced in any way. A lot of them, him just making errors that are not very categoric of him.
Something to know. You got qualifying on spot, and I seem to be. If the race ends how it should, I would have gotten the race on spot.
Well, here we are. So
We'll see.
Moss has 4 seconds to catch Eaton. So we will see if in the next 8 minutes he can catch him. I'm sure he will be driving with anger at this stage, having made this many errors over the span of 45 minutes in a race. So uncharacteristic of him.
Eaton is gonna have to be consistent in these last 8 minutes, because when he came up behind Moss actually started to pull away, which would indicate that his pace is somewhat faster. So
As you're talking, Moss has already taken a second out of that 4-second gap. It is now 3 seconds. So there is a chase on here.
chase for pace.
Chase for pace indeed. We will see if Moss will get that move done. Eaton a 149.4, Moss a 151.6, and that would have included his pit exit. So we will see now at the end of this lap what the difference in one lap pace is. We will compare their sector times to see what it is looking like, as they're both now going through sector 1, coming up to turn 5. Eaton with a 34.6, Moss with a 34.0. So shaving 6/10 out of him in just sector 1. And the gap has dwindled to 2.5 seconds, just like that. And as they're going through sector 2 now, we should be getting to the end of sector 2 within 3 corners. We will see what the gap is then. But it very much gives us the impression that Moss will be catching him and will be trying to take that position back on track. Gap now down to 2 seconds as Moss looks to have taken another 5/10 out of Harrison. Out of Eaton, sorry. We So we are less than 2 seconds. And the gap is now less, well, 1.5 seconds. So another second seems to have been taken out of Eaton for that lap. Shown in the lap times, Moss doing a 1:47.6, Eaton a 1:48.8. And with 5 minutes to go here, I think by the end of lap 21, Moss will be in position to make another move on Eaton to get back into second position. And I guess the best Moss could hope for, given the errors that he would have made here today. And Moss now should be giving Eaton a rear view mirror full of his front grille.
The race is on now, Chad.
Indeed, and as we come on to start finish straight, Moss looks to have the drive here and might have this move done by the time we get to turn 2. Sitting in the slipstream, steps out, Eaton defending the inside, and let's see if he will live to tell the tale.
Here I'm outside.
Moss running wide there. Eaton forcing him wide, actually. Good defense there by Eaton, and he will have to do this for another 2 laps at least.
Ooh, he lost it.
So let's see where we are. Riding now behind Moss as he will be looking again to try and make another move on Eaton. Eaton defending so well, giving Moss nowhere to look. Moss did look to get a better drive here and will look to the inside line. Eaton parking his car so brilliantly in the middle of the track there, giving Moss nowhere to go.
Beautiful.
Oh no, they make contact and Eaton holds it. So good on Moss for backing off, as that is the correct thing to do.
Great defense by Eaton.
Great defense by Eaton and good racing by Moss. Having tapped Eaton, he did give the advantage back. So the stewards shouldn't have anything to look at there really, but I guess that's on them to decide.
You could see their muscles expecting that momentum to carry him through. But Eaton parked that car right on
That
the
he did
exit.
it, and we have maybe 2 laps to go. Both drivers giving it everything, as you could see them braking hard into the second to last corner. And Moss will try to probably have another look. He did look to get a better drive out of the last corner again, as we are now heading towards turn 2, which is the next heavy braking zone. Moss looking inside, but deciding that he does not have the gap to make a move. Such close racing and good, hard, fair racing between these two.
Yes.
Mark not cracking under the pressure, all props to him, defending very well, putting his car exactly where it needs to be in order to keep Moss at bay. Moss looking every which direction he can in trying to find a way past. Eaton a little wide there, but has the correct line to defend this corner. Moss thought he might have had him there, but Eaton is just brilliantly placing this car.
He may try that move again here. Through.
I don't think there is space to make that move though. He does get a better drive, but Eaton defending the inside line, which will always prevail in this section of track because it is far too narrow to make that move stick. If he gets a better drive than him here, he could look to make the move into the next heavy braking zone. Mark does look to have the gap necessary. And Moss looking to go around the outside, but Eaton
Absolutely
is placing that
beautiful
car
defense.
exactly where he needs to every time. And Moss could have this move done by the time we get to turn 2, as the drivers are alongside. Moss with the inside line here. Braking a little bit later than Eaton is Moss. Eaton might be looking to try and make the switch back, but just not enough speed carried. And that move has been made by Kurt Moss. Props to Eaton for keeping him at bay for 3 laps. Well, might be looking to take...
And just now giving Eaton an advantage.
And he does have the drive, the two side by side going into turn 5 here. Eaton around the outside. Will he keep it on track? No. Running wide there. Shame. This is why we all love racing. This has been quite a spectacle here.
So shall we have one more lap after this? Or is...
So, as time has elapsed, Jaden Harrison should be on his final lap, and we will see if these two have one more spectacle in them before we get to the end of the race. So there should be one more lap to go here for these two. We're at the 25 laps that we did expect to have completed here today. I'm not sure if Eaton has the pace to try and mount one more attack on Moss here. Moss seems to have this position in the bag already, taking a second to Eaton. It was unfortunate. That was fun to watch.
Definitely. I was hoping the rookie would have pulled through, but excellent drive nonetheless.
And he did have the defensive answer to Moss for a few laps. Just unfortunate that he could not have kept that defense up. Moss just a little too quick for him here today. But nonetheless, good drive by him. Good drive by Moss despite his mistakes to give us good racing here in the last part of this race. As we now ride on board with Jaden Harrison, Jaden going through the final sector to come across the line to take his victory. And we thought we would have gotten the battle of the century between him and Moss. Instead, we got it between Moss and Eaton.
Well, we got a half-century battle. Beginning of the race.
Indeed. And as Jaden here rounds the final corner to take a comfortable victory here, seemed to have been alone for the second half of the race, but he should send Kurt Moss some flowers. Moss having made mistakes that gave Harrison back that victory. And Moss will come home to take second on a day that really and truly had the pace to win, but found himself making some errors there. Eaton will come home in third, and our rookie driver, Mr. Moody, will come home to take fourth position. Eastman was a lap down, so Eastman has finished a lap down. And Moody will be coming home in one more sector to take fourth place. Not a bad drive from him on his debut. We expect to see him develop a little bit more as time progresses, but he's still getting a little bit wide there on his last lap. things to polish, things to learn, but he will get there.
Yes, you can see that he has the pace based on how he started the race with Ethan, that back and forth with himself and Ethan. But as you said, there are more things to conquer: his patience and his consistency. But with practice, he'll definitely be one of the top contenders.
And so that concludes our race here this evening.
You have to let it go because man
So as we have completed our race here, we will be having some post-race interviews with our top two and our rookie. Not the best turnout for the race today, but it's good racing nonetheless. So we will talk to the drivers to get their feelings in as soon as they get back to the pits in just a moment. Our first interview will be with the man who finished in second position, Mr. Kurt Moss, who will be joining us here momentarily. Kurt, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Rough race for you today. A few mistakes took place out on track, and I see maybe a bit of struggle with the real penalty system. Talk us through what happened.
Well, my issues weren't really on track. It was doing my pit stop. I forgot to check my tire chain, so I had to do another pit. And when I trying to do it as fast as possible, I sped going into the pit, and that caused me to get another drive through. So I had to pit 3 times instead of one. So that kind of messed my whole race up.
Impressive feat to only finish 17 seconds back with 3 pit stops to everybody else's 1 pit stop. That just shows that you were on pace to have comfortably won today, but what could have been. Talk us through the track. We've heard lots of complaints from the drivers this week about the track. How were you feeling out there?
I am completely biased towards this track. I love Kyalami, so I have no problems with it, man, to be honest. I love the track, so that's just me.
One of few. Limited setups this week, so not much room to play with in terms of what can be done to the car. Did that affect, you think, the race today much at all?
Hey, I'm not a fan of this car, but if it's a car that's chosen for us to race, well, you have to work with it and try to adapt to how the car drives. So that's all I can say, man. If this is the car we're using, we just gotta get used to it and learn the car as best as we can.
Well, we've seen that you can drive the brakes off just about anything, so I mean, we expected nothing less from you. Good race today, and we do appreciate you joining us here on commentary. And best of luck
Thanks,
in
man. I
future
appreciate
events.
it.
Yeah, man. Next, we will be talking to the newest racer or rookie, the youngster, getting his first on-track time here. And he raced from in-center, so he's sitting here right next to me, Mr. Mark Moody. Mark, how was your first event?
It was good. Made a little bit too much mistakes, like especially when I was under pressure from Mark. So that hassle kind of like shook me up a little bit. But other than that, I think I drove well. I was very consistent. I set the fastest time that I've ever done so far, so feel good about that. So it's just for me to get more seat time and get better from now on.
We certainly saw that you had pace out there to compete with somebody who is a little bit more experienced than you are. So good on you for having that pace. But you mentioned the mistakes, bit of nerves maybe, or was it just talk us through what kind of.
Well, yeah, kind of hard to pay attention. But yeah, I was a bit nervous before the race, but when I got to the race, still a little bit of nervousness going in and out of the corners, losing the back end. So it was a bit, let's say, for my first race, it was a bit nerve wracking, but other than that, it was pretty good for my first race. So
And you mentioned that it's your first race, so we do expect to see more of you in future events.
yeah, for sure.
Taking to sim racing thus far, we know you're coming from a karting background. How do the two compare?
Very different, 100% different. But yeah, it's just feel for it that you have to have for it, and I'm slowly getting that feel.
Okay. Well, we do see the potential in you, and we are glad to see that you are making strides in the right direction. And, for a first race, not bad. So we will be keen to watch your development from here on in.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, we will be talking to our race winner, Mr. Jaden Harrison. Jaden, can you hear me?
Hearing ya.
All right, Jaden. A bit lonely in the second half of the race for you, as it just seemed like you were out for a casual stroll, maybe, just practice working on putting in those laps.
Yeah, well, Kurt got a drive-through. I managed to get a good pit stop. But the second sit I was just aiming to do between consistent 147.6s and 148 flat. But yeah, well, in the first stint we got a good little battle. We were keeping the gap and everything. A bit inconsistent here and there, but we get it through.
Yeah, talk us through that first battle between you and Kurt. It did seem to be a little bit back and forth. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, so I got the jump into the first corner on the outside, but Kurt pulled his line and we went through. But we left space for each other. He kind of, I think his traction control was turned up a bit too much. So I'm losing the rear a bit. And I just took the opportunity to just zoom right past. So I was just kind of waiting for him to make a mistake and holding that gap.
Quite so. And there seemed to have been an error from you around the pit window as Kurt came out 13 seconds ahead. What happened there?
Repeat, when I pit before Kurt.
Right, so I'm just trying to understand how that gap emerged between why Kurt got 13 seconds ahead of you after his pit stop.
Oh, so I think when Kurt made his initial stop, he got a drive-through and had to scrap the stop and went out and then did a couple laps, did his pit stop, then went again and served the drive-through. So I don't think he did the stop. I think he just got the drive-through and just went back out.
Oh, got you. Okay, so that was where that took place. Okay, and you seemed very. I thought so because I didn't recall seeing you make any mistakes. You seemed very consistent out there today. Safe to say you enjoyed the track.
Yeah, I enjoyed the track. The combo was a bit weird today. It felt very different. I was on IR earlier on the GT4. I guess that threw me off for today. But yeah, the rail was a bit spicy, but we get through.
Okay, well, congratulations again, Jaden. Good racing, and on to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Good talking to you.
we go.
And so that concludes our interviews with the drivers this evening. Thank you once again for joining us for another event here, folks. And we will see you again soon.